So today is Maundy Thursday, April 2nd, in the year of our Lord, 33. And it's called Maundy Thursday because that means new commandment. And Jesus gave his disciples the command to love one another on Thursday evening. This is an extremely weighty day. When Jesus woke up Thursday morning, it's likely that he didn't close his eyes in sleep again until he closed them in death on Friday afternoon. So many momentous things happened today, but I'm just going to reference a few of them. Most of the events would have occurred later in the day, as Thursday evening began the celebration of Passover in Jerusalem. Jesus met with his disciples in the upper room that they had reserved for the evening, and he stunned them all by washing their feet. While his disciples argued amongst themselves over who would be the greatest, Jesus demonstrated servant leadership by showing that the greatest will serve others. They ate the traditional Passover lamb and unleavened bread as was customary for the occasion. But during the meal, Jesus announces to them that one of them would betray him. Understandably, this upsets them and they begin to question who would do such a thing. Jesus states that it would be better for this person never to have been born. And during the meal, Judas leaves the upper room. Well, through their observance of Passover, they looked back at what God had done in rescuing the Israelites from bondage in Egypt. Jesus told his disciples that he eagerly looked forward to celebrating this with them. And he institutes something new, something we refer to today as the Lord's Supper. From this point on, the disciples would celebrate this meal in remembrance of Jesus and all that he accomplished to rescue them from their sins through his death on the cross. And each future observance would also look forward to the day in which they would celebrate this meal with Jesus again, as we all look forward to the return of Christ for his people. The Gospel of John records that Jesus took his disciples to the Mount of Olives and taught them a great many things this night. And even though they weren't prepared for much of what he said, they returned to these teachings later on when they were able to grasp the weight of Jesus' teachings. During this time, Jesus highlights what is to be the defining characteristic of his followers: love for one another. This love is to be so clear and visible that by observing it, outsiders will know that Jesus' disciples are his followers. Not only did Jesus predict that one of the disciples would betray him, but he also told Peter that he would deny him and that the rest of the disciples would abandon him. And even though they vehemently deny this and affirm their loyalty, Jesus assures them that it will happen. And he leads them to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus struggles to pray and they struggle to stay awake late into the night. And while this is happening, a mob led by Judas comes to the garden to arrest Jesus. He betrays Jesus with a kiss. And although Peter leaps to Jesus' defense, Jesus calms the situation and heals the soldier whose ear Peter cuts off. One of the amazing things to notice about this day is that in every aspect and detail, Jesus is in complete control. He arranges circumstances, his predictions come true, and even though his disciples are frantic and reeling, Jesus is calm. He knows what's going to happen because he ordained it all to happen. Doesn't matter how dark things may seem and how desperate the circumstances may feel, always remember that Jesus is in control. He's sovereign over all things, and we can trust Him to work out His plan as He always has.